Ever since the introduction of the Rider class into Enlisted, the motorcycle squads have always been viewed as questionable at best. Their extremely small squad size combined with a lack of protection meant that they were essentially glass cannons without the cannon. However, a few months ago, Darkflow decided to implement some small quality of life changes to the motorcycle squads which were aimed at making them a bit more viable in battle. These changes mainly added bikes for all factions and added a third soldier on the back of the motorcycle. While I still don't think that the motorcycles are particularly competitive, they're certainly fun and can come in extremely clutch when they work. In this guide, I'm going to show you everything you need to create an effective motorcycle squad, as well as all the tips and strategies that I've learned while playing them. One of the most important things for your motorcycle squad is to choose the correct specialists. I would recommend that you take an engineer, radio man, and an AT soldier. The engineer is crucial because you can use the mobility of the bikes in conjunction with his hammer to quickly set up a flanking rally point. The radio man is useful because whenever you're driving around, you can call in an artillery strike, which means that even when you're spending time traversing the map, you can still be actively helping your team. And lastly, the AT soldier gives you a deadly ability to take out enemy tanks. You're going to want to make sure that you have an AT soldier in the third and final slot so that he will ride on the back of the motorcycle. I will explain this later, so please don't forget this crucial step. As for equipment, I would encourage you to include mines and explosive packs on your squad, as you will have ample opportunities to penetrate into the enemy lines. Also, it's worth mentioning the premium motorcycle squads. As of right now, there are only 3 of them in the game, but there have been some more unique ones that were data mined through the files. The premium squads have a bit of a trade-off when compared to the tech tree motorcycle squads. They only come with 2 default rider troops and an engineer. However, the engineer has access to the additional building structures, such as the AA gun, AT cannon, and machine gun nest. Not the HMG, but the regular machine gun. I think they certainly have potential, but because I do not own any of them, I cannot give a definitive opinion on their effectiveness in battle. If you're going to buy any of them, I would 100% wait until they're on sale. Alright, before we get into the battle tactics, I do need to mention that even though I am making this guide for the motorcycle squad, I don't think that they're the greatest option for your lineup if you are a free-to-play player. If you're limited to only 3 squads and a vehicle, I think you should either bring a tank, plane, or APC, unless you've partied up with other players who are bringing those other vehicles. While the bikes can certainly come in clutch and provide some useful utility, they cannot replace the staple vehicles of Enlisted. You'll have a much better time with the bikes if you have access to additional squad slots, as you can choose to deploy them when the opportunity presents itself, but you won't be forced to rely on them when the situation is not optimal. And lastly, I would recommend that you stick to using the bikes in Battle Rating 2. There are already a million things that can kill your exposed crew, and you really don't want to deal with an onslaught of select fire rifles and other deadly weapons at higher BRs. Battle Rating 2 also affords you a lot more of the open maps, such as Moscow and Tunisia, which heavily favor the playstyle of the motorcycles. Trust me, trying to drive a motorcycle through the cluttered streets of Berlin without dying is not an easy or fun experience. I must also warn you that motorcycles tend to gain a lot of attention from the enemy AI. While some of the human players you encounter might have a hard time hitting a high-speed motorcycle, the AI soldiers certainly do not. Respect the presence of enemy AI because they can and will kill you if you get within close firing range of them. Before we cover the combat strategies, let's talk about some ways to speed up the grind of the motorcycle squad. The bikes start with 2 rider soldiers, which makes almost all of the combat effective strategies I'm going to talk about pretty much impossible due to simply lacking any of the specialists. You're going to want to prioritize getting kills and earning team points with the bike's ammo supply. I'll talk more about tactics to rack up large amounts of kills later in the video, but you can always park the motorcycle on the objective and just play as a standard soldier. Any teammate who uses the bike's ammo supply to refill their weapons will give you XP for leveling up. And as far as upgrading goes, get the squad XP increases, the third soldier, and your first specialist. And you're going to want to choose the engineer and start every match you can with the motorcycle squad. Use the bike's engineer to go build a rally point, because every time a teammate uses it, you will be rewarded with passive XP for your squad. If you have any of the Battle Pass engineer troops, I highly suggest placing one on your bike squad, because the gold soldiers give your squad a percentage increase to your XP. Like I just mentioned before, one of the most useful functions of the motorbikes is their ability to quickly set up a flanking rally. This is most useful when you're attacking the enemy, as you can approach the capture zone from a different direction. The motorbikes are also much faster and stealthier than other vehicles like an APC. You can easily establish a sneaky rally point that can allow your team to quickly take an objective. My personal advice is that when you're building a flanking rally with a motorcycle squad, you should avoid putting it too close to the objective. I like to keep my flanking rally points at least 100 meters from the objective, because this makes it much harder for the enemy to destroy it. I know the goal of a rally point is to shorten the distance it takes to reach the objective, but when you're building a rally on the flank that is deep within enemy territory, it is significantly harder to defend than one that is on your own side of the map. The bikes aren't just good at setting up rallies, they're also a viable option for taking out enemy rally points and APCs. Because the bikes are extremely fast, you can use this to your advantage to quickly rush an enemy spawn point and destroy it before the enemy team can react. Just understand that you're probably not going to make it out alive, but if you play your cards right, this risky tactic can be used to eliminate an enemy rally point or APC. Alright, let's talk about how to use the motorcycle's machine gun effectively. The machine guns on the motorcycles function similarly to the ones used by infantry, in that they must be reloaded, but they do not suffer from the crippling overheat that affects the stationary and tank-mounted machine guns. However, the machine guns on the motorcycles have a very limited angle at which they can be aimed. To compensate for this weakness, you want to set up your motorcycle in a long, narrow pathway where the enemy infantry must advance in a way that is perpendicular to you. This will make the enemy infantry cross a killing zone, where you can use your machine gun on them while they have almost no opportunity to counterattack. If you're able to use this strategy, you can position your motorcycle in between the enemy spawn and the objective and eliminate a couple squads of infantry in a short period of time, cutting off valuable reinforcements that the enemy needs to control the point. The enemy infantry players will react to you and attempt to fight back, so after you've killed your first squad, expect the enemy players to start making a serious effort to eliminate you. I must also add that this tactic is great if you don't have your bike squad leveled up yet, as all you need is the 2 starter soldiers to rack up a considerable amount of kills. Alright, let's talk about my favorite tactic with the bikes, using an AT launcher while riding the motorcycle. Remember when I mentioned to make sure that your AT soldier is on the back of the bike? This is why. When you're controlling your motorcycle, you can switch to different crew members. If you switch to a crew member on the back of the bike, there is a small option to toggle your soldier's personal weapons, which will give you access to all of his firearms. If you're using the AT soldier, you can use your AT launcher or AT rifle through this feature while driving the motorcycle. This tactic is not easy to pull off, but it's absolutely hilarious when it works. Just be aware that when you're driving at high speeds, your AT weapons will have very poor accuracy, so you want to slow down before you shoot at the enemy vehicles. If the AT launcher trick wasn't quite enough for you, I have one more thing I can show you. Did you know that you can stick TNT charges onto the motorcycle? By placing TNT on the bike, you can essentially turn your vehicle into a moving bomb. This tactic will almost always result in your death, but isn't that part of the experience? You can try to jump off of the bike, but if you're moving too fast, you will simply run yourself over and be unable to detonate your explosives. Even so, the risk of getting shot before you can demount in order to hit the detonator is extremely high. To counteract this weakness, if you're playing in a group, you can have your squad mate place TNT on your bike. That way, it will not matter if you die because they can simply detonate the TNT on your bike from a safe distance. This will also prevent the TNT from killing you, because the TNT technically belongs to your teammate, and therefore, it will not do any damage because there's no friendly fire in Enlisted. Keep in mind that there are a few standard tactics that can be incorporated into the motorcycle squads. While you're riding around on the bikes, you can use your radio operator to call artillery fire on the enemy. This helps you be impactful even when you're not in the fight and can score you several free kills just for hitting a button on your screen. The motorcycle squads are also great candidates to use both AP and AT mines, as you can easily get into the enemy side of the map and lay a few deadly traps, whether they're AT mines on a narrow road or bridge or an AP mine on an enemy rally. Just remember to not spend too much time setting traps, as everything you do in-game has an opportunity cost. Simply put, any amount of time you spend doing something is time you could have spent doing something else. It's better to just hang on to your mines and drop them if you happen to enter a spot that looks like it might yield results, rather than spending precious minutes going out of your way to set them up. If you're really struggling to find useful spots for your mines, you can always drop them underneath the motorcycle and leave it behind as a deadly booby trap for the enemy. I myself have noticed that players in Enlisted seem to have a fascination with stealing things from the enemy, and the bikes are no exception. I've killed plenty of people who have tried to commandeer my motorcycles simply by keeping it within shooting distance, but sticking your AT and AP mines under the bike would really leave a nasty surprise. I hope I was able to show you something new with the Rider Squads of Enlisted. If you would like to play Enlisted or other military games with me, then I would highly suggest that you check out my Discord server, which I've linked in the video description. It's a very small community and the environment is quite laid back and chill. Most of the replay footage in this video was actually from matches that a few of us played together, and I can say that we had a lot of fun. As the server grows, I'd like to begin hosting some events, and I'll even do some giveaways in the future as we start to hit various milestones here on YouTube. And I would like to make one thing clear, any future giveaways or prizes will be handled exclusively through the Discord server. The goal of this isn't to gatekeep people, it's a safeguard to protect my community from scams and fake accounts which have become extremely prevalent on YouTube. So make sure you head on over and join the Discord if you're interested in that. For now, this will conclude the April 2025 monthly recap. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.